Penelope Popper, Book Doctor by Tony Buzzio, illustrations by Jana Christie. Penelope practiced doctoring as often as possible, but not everyone liked Penelope listening for heartbeats. Later, Penelope. Taking blood pressures. Not now, Penelope. And checking reflexes. Stop it, Penelope. Even her teacher, Mr. Hempel, was often too busy for a checkup. One Friday afternoon, Penelope was awfully discouraged. Go visit Miss Briscoe in the library, Penelope, Mr. Hempel suggested. Maybe she can help. Penelope packed up her doctor bag and headed down to the library. Any new doctor books? She asked. I'm sorry, not today, Miss Briscoe said. Well then, how's your heartbeat? Penelope reached inside her doctor bag. Right as rain, Miss Briscoe said. Penelope slumped to the floor. Why, Penelope, Miss Briscoe said. Shall I take your blood pressure? No, Penelope sighed. I just want to be a doctor. Which kind of doctor? Miss Briscoe asked. Penelope gave her a puzzled look. Miss Briscoe walked Penelope to the nonfiction shelves. There are many kinds of doctors. Penelope doctors, people doctors, animal doctors, and she pulled a very old and tired book from the shelf. Book doctors. Penelope's eyes opened wide. What do they do? I'll show you, Miss Briscoe said. Penelope followed Miss Briscoe into a large back room. Wow, what's all this? Medical supplies. Miss Briscoe set to work repairing the dirty book and its torn pages. When her patient looked almost new, Miss Briscoe slipped it into a new book cover bag. That is what a book doctor does. Penelope borrowed some art supplies from Miss Briscoe and stayed long enough to make a fancy sign to the back room door. Book Hospital. Then she skipped back to class with the patient. Looking at this book, she said, but no one did. On Monday morning, Penelope scanned the shelves and found 3 books that needed a book doctor's attention. She stacked the dirty books on the circulation desk. Penelope, Miss Briscoe said, would you like to be my medical resident? What does a resident do? Penelope asked. You'd learn to be a book doctor, Miss Briscoe said. Well, I have my doctor bag right here, Penelope said. Great. Miss Briscoe sorted through the pile. Do you remember the first rule of book care? Wash your hands before reading a book, Penelope said. As you can see, Miss Briscoe said, some children have forgotten the rule. In the book hospital, Miss Briscoe pulled a canister from the shelf and removed a damp wipe. Books can get sick when they're dirty. She carefully cleaned the cover and spine of the patient. Cleaning wipes for books. Penelope picked up the canister. I can do that, and she did. Back in class, Penelope lugged the big classroom dictionary over to a table. She removed the canister from her doctor bag, pulled on her medical gloves, and set to work. What are you doing, Penelope? Hunter asked. Practicing doctoring, she said mysteriously. On Tuesday, Penelope handed Miss Briscoe 2 books, each with torn pages. Book Care Rule 2. Turn pages from the upper right-hand corner, she said. Quite right. Miss Briscoe handed Penelope a roll of nearly invisible book repair tape. Only a book doctor or resident can perform this operation. Penelope watched Miss Briscoe demonstrate and chirped, I can do that, and she did. Back in the classroom, Penelope laid the big classroom dictionary open on the table. Please give Penelope room to perform this delicate procedure, Mr. Hempel said. Penelope gently smoothed the torn page and matched up the torn edges until the letters on the page lined up perfectly. Then she carefully attached a strip of book repair tape on each side of the page. Hey, said Jada, it's like when the emergency room doctors stitched my forehead back together. Book Care Rule 3. Never dog-ear a page. Penelope recited before school on Wednesday morning. Use a bookmark instead. Precisely. Miss Briscoe set Penelope to work making a big stack of book care bookmarks. Thanks for helping me spread the word. Dog-eared pages are a real problem. Penelope slipped the bookmark into her doctor bag and settled down to browse through 2 books about veterinarians. She was shocked to find a dog-eared page in each, and one of the dog ears was about to fall off. She rushed to the book hospital and watched Miss Briscoe treat the first patient. "I can do that," Penelope said, and she did. In Mr. Himple's class, Penelope handed out the bookmarks to all of her classmates. "Meet me at the operating table, and I'll show you why we need these." She opened the dictionary to a dog-eared page and gently folded the corner back into place. Then she removed the backing from a corner repair square. She carefully attached it to the page and smoothed it down. Ruthie held up her finger. "It's like my splint." On Thursday in the book hospital, Miss Briscoe handed Penelope a stack of plastic book care bags from the top shelf. Penelope read, "Book Care Rule 4. Keep books safe from the babies, pets, and liquids." "Unless students keep their books safe in these bags," Miss Briscoe said, "there's no hope for some books." Book Care Rules. Wash your hands before reading a book. Turn pages from the upper right-hand corner. Never dog-ear a page. Keep books safe from babies, pets, and liquids. Use a shelf marker to hold your spot and then replace books carefully on the shelves. Penelope glanced at the patient on the table. Its top and bottom corners had been chewed and its pages were rippled and stuck together. "We can't save it," Penelope cried. Miss Briscoe shook her head. "We can only try to replace it." Penelope handed out book care bags to each student in her class. "What are you going to do to the dictionary today, Penelope?" Carmen asked. But Penelope just shook her head sadly. "Just promise me you'll use the bag." On Friday, Penelope discovered a book someone had shoved carelessly around another book on the shelf. The pages of the first book were bent and crumpled. Penelope carried it carefully to the book hospital. Someone forgot the last book care rule. Use a shelf marker to hold your spot, and then replace books carefully on the shelves. "Can we help?" Miss Briscoe sighed. "Maybe." She smoothed the pages gently. Penelope stepped forward. "I can do that." And she did. In the hallway, Sadie rushed up to Penelope. "Come, quick!" "What's wrong?" Penelope asked. "It's the big dictionary," Sadie said. "It's fallen behind the radiator." The book was wedged between the radiator and the wall, with its front cover bent back and many pages crumpled and folded. Penelope reached down into her bulging medical bag and removed her stethoscope. "What if we slid this under the patient and then lift very slowly?" Mr. Himple followed Penelope's instructions, and Penelope snatched the book into her arms. She rushed it over to the operating table. Penelope cleaned the book with the book care wipes. She healed torn pages. She smoothed crumpled pages back into proper position. Then she stretched 2 wide elastic bands tightly into place at the top and the bottom of the book. Now the patient will need to rest for a week. When Penelope looked up, Mr. Himple was standing behind the circle of classmates surrounding her. Miss Briscoe stood at his side. Mr. Himple cleared his throat. "Penelope, we have a gift for you." He handed Penelope a small box. Inside was a shiny engraved badge. Penelope grinned. "Will you pin it on me?" Miss Briscoe removed Penelope's old doctor badge and pinned it on the new one. And she did. As she did, the class burst into applause. Penelope Popper, Book Doctor. The end.